Adoption is going to be greatly impacted by the overturning of Roe versus Wade. And there are 5 different ways that I believe that adoption is going to be impacted over the next decade into and beyond because of the overturning of Roe versus Wade. Now, I made a video a few days ago about my excitement over Roe versus Wade being overturned. And there have been a lot of comments, good and bad, about people's reactions to my excitement regarding Roe versus Wade being overturned. And so before I get into the video and start going over the 5 ways that I believe adoption will be severely impacted, I want to tell you guys a very quick personal story. So my mom actually had 2 abortions. The first one she had was when she was first pregnant with twins. She aborted them because my dad pressured her to. And then she had my brother, then she had my sister, then she was pregnant again, and then my dad pressured her again, and so she aborted that one. And then she got pregnant with me, and again my dad pressured her to abort me, and she said, enough is enough, I'm not doing any more abortions. And so she had me, and then she had my little sister. So now there's 4 of us, but there are 3 of us who were aborted. And my mom is very open about that. And to this day, when she talks about the pressure she felt from my father, who she was married to at the time, she still regrets the decision that she made to abort my other 3 siblings. And so, a lot of you in the comments are talking about how, I don't understand, and what about women who are being raped and incest, and what about my body, my choice, whatever. Listen, you guys, abortion is something that impacts severely and negatively the woman who goes through the abortion and the children who are already alive and maybe actually witnessed their mothers going through abortion. And I can say for me, knowing that my father didn't want me alive has caused a lot of things that I've had to work through over the years and get healing from. And also forgiving my mom for aborting my other 3 siblings that could be here today. So there's so much that goes into that that's not talked about. So when the message is put out there, my body, my choice, it doesn't talk to you about the emotional trauma that the babies that were almost aborted but that made it out, what they go through, or what the siblings go through who had siblings that were actually aborted. And so I would love for everyone, whether you're pro-life or pro-choice, to start thinking about those other issues as well that really don't ever come up from the pro-choice debate side. Really, the only argument that I hear is my body, my choice, but I don't hear anything regarding what about the siblings who were already alive when their mom aborted their other siblings? How does that make them feel? What about the woman who had abortions and who is now regretting the decisions that she's made and now has to live with that for the rest of her life? Like I said, it's very personal to me because my mom went through that, and I'm so glad she decided to keep me and decided not to listen to my father, who was not a very good man by any stretch of the imagination. And so there's so much trauma that is associated with abortion on so many different levels. And honestly, I really wish that that part of it would be talked about honestly by the pro-choice side. So before I get into the video, I wanted to make sure that you guys understand that this is not just something that I'm talking about because I'm just excited about the pro-life movement. I strongly and absolutely believe in pro-life and that every baby should be given the choice to live. All right, so now let's get into the video. So here are 5 ways that I really believe that adoption is going to be truly impacted by the overturning of Roe versus Wade. Number 1, women are probably still going to choose abortion over adoption. As you guys all understand by now that Roe versus Wade has been overturned, now it's in the state's power to make decisions regarding abortion law. So probably what's going to happen is that a lot of the red states are going to pass laws that basically just annihilate abortion, where a woman is not able to abort in a red state. And probably most blue states are going to, make the laws very relaxed and allow women to continue to abort their babies if they choose to. Okay, so the fight is far from over. So adoption is going to be impacted by the fact that abortion will still continue. So it'll be really interesting to see in a lot of the blue states, or whatever states decide to choose to keep abortion laws, what the rate, what it's going to look like in the future in the next 10 years, red states versus blue states, and the increase of the population, kind of all of that. So it's going to be really interesting to see that data. So for those of you out there who are pro-lifers and those of you out there who are Christ followers and you are excited about the overturning of Roe versus Wade as I am, I would say to you, there's still going to be women who are being pressured. Like I said, a lot of the women that I meet in my law office are not choosing are thinking about choosing abortion because they're being raped. They're thinking about it because the boyfriend has disappeared. Sometimes they have, 2 or 3 children already. Now they're pregnant with their 4th and they can't keep up because they have 2 jobs and they don't know how they're going to take care of a 4th one. A lot of times pressure from parents. I had a very young lady who got pregnant for the 2nd time. Her husband, her father, she was living with her father, and he was pressuring her to abort the baby and she didn't want to. And so she was choosing adoption, and then he decided, okay, I'm going to support you with that. So there are just so many dynamics that come with when women decide that they want to abort a child, that it's up to us right now to really be sympathetic and understanding and come alongside and just support and give hope to women who are going through situations that we couldn't possibly understand. So I want to encourage you pro-lifers out there, knowing that women are still going to choose abortion in a lot of these states, is volunteer at your local pregnancy center. See how you can just be a voice of hope, a voice of encouragement, and come alongside women who just need to hear you're going to be okay, or we're going to do this with you. We're here with you. What can we do to help? The number 2 way that I believe that adoption is going to be impacted by the overturning of Roe versus Wade is there are going to be, hopefully, right? The hope is that a lot more women are going to be choosing adoption versus abortion, okay? So if we're anticipating that that's going to happen, what I'm encouraging, the church, Christ followers, pro-lifers to do is to start being willing to open up your home to children who may need your home. Because if more women are going to start choosing adoption, that means that a lot more families need to be open to adopting. And that leads me to number 3. Now, if adoption does increase and a lot more women start choosing adoption versus abortion, I want to tell you guys, specifically pro-lifers and Christ followers, listen, adoption is not a band-aid. Adoption is not just like this cool, awesome thing that you do and you can just say, oh, I adopted a kid because it makes me feel good. Adoption is a very serious decision that you make to raise a child, to bring a child into your home, to call them your own, and to raise them up as if they came from your own body, as if they've always been a part of your family. And you have to understand that adoption comes with trauma. A lot of people have this really wrong belief that if they adopt a newborn, that newborn child is not as traumatized as a child who's been in foster care for the past 10 years. That is simply not true. A newborn who is taken from their biological mother suffers trauma. There's so many studies that show that. God's design for family was for children to be raised in a home with their mom and a dad. But in the broken world that we are in today, that just doesn't happen like God intended it to be. And so we have adoption as a choice now to be able to reverse a lot of that trauma, to be able to help children who need a home, to just come alongside of them, love them, show them what healthy love looks like, so that they can grow up to be, humans in society that are giving back to their communities as well. So this is so important because I just hear so much of that in the adoption world, of parents who are looking to adopt a newborn baby because they think it's going to be easier somehow, that they won't have to deal with the trauma. You're going to deal with trauma regardless of what age you adopt. If you adopt a newborn, you will deal with trauma at some point. If you adopt from foster care, you will also deal with trauma. And if you adopt internationally and you're taking a child from a different country and bring them to the United States, you will also deal with trauma. Adoption comes with trauma, period. It doesn't matter what age you're adopting from. And so it's going to be more important than ever at this time to understand and be educated about trauma and how that affects young children from newborn all the way to adolescent years. And so I'm begging you, adoptive communities out there and families who, Christ followers especially, who you're like, okay, God is telling me to adopt. I feel like I have a calling from the Lord. Listen, the calling from the Lord also comes with education. Okay, so it's not okay to just look at adoption as something that you're doing to try to save humanity. Yes, there are a lot of children that need homes, but they also need you to understand trauma and how to help them on an everyday basis. There are so many families who have adopted out of the goodness of their hearts and are now dealing with issues and behaviors that they were not prepared for. And this is how rehoming happens. Rehoming happens when an adoptive family adopts a child because they're so excited to adopt. because they think they're going to adopt a newborn and everything is going to be okay. So they no education about trauma. They think it's just going to be easy peasy. And then the child turns 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, and now they start exhibiting these behaviors that they're not used to. Why is this child not bonding with me like I thought they were going to? Why is this child not wanting to be a part of my family? And so all these issues start arising, and then families don't know what to do. They're at their wits' end. And I mean, throw into that mental health issues, right? There are so many children that because of the trauma they go through, they start having mental health issues that need to be dealt with. And so listen, you guys, adoption is not a walk in the park, and it's not something to be taken lightly and to just say, oh, I'm just going to adopt and everything is going to be okay. It's not going to be okay if you're not properly educated. It can actually be hell. That's why a lot of families end up rehoming these kids and giving them up for adoption again, because they can't handle the behaviors and the things that come with just trauma in general. So I'm begging you guys that yes, we're excited about Roe versus Wade being overturned, and yes, there's a potential that adoption is going to increase, but please be educated about trauma, and if you're going to adopt, make sure that you're ready for it. Number 4, the cost of adoption may actually increase. Already, adoption costs can be pretty inflated, and you guys all know that there are scammers out there, and there are people that are trying to take your money, and they really don't care about you or the children or about adoption in general. They're just trying to make money, and adoption in some ways has become a business. But the truth also is that whenever you're doing an adoption, there are people involved that are helping you with the process. And there are people who are legit and who are actually doing the right thing. And they need to feed their families. And so you do have to pay them for their services. So there are agencies out there that you have to pay for fees. You have to pay for the fees for the pregnant mother sometimes, depending on the situation. You have to pay for a lawyer to help you do the legal paperwork, because that lawyer also has children that they need to feed. And so the expenses of adoption, the cost associated with it, is not always this inflated pricing where people are just trying to like take your money and just use it for their, to make their lifestyles better. You have to pay for things, just like you have to pay for anything else in life. Adoption is going to cost you something. And so if you're not willing to spend the money that it's going to cost for you to adopt, then maybe this is not the right thing for you to do. But adoption costs, I'm expecting, I could be very wrong, but I'm expecting are probably going to increase. Not just because of Roe versus Wade being overturned and hopefully an increase of mothers wanting adoption, but also because of the world that we're living in right now and just inflation like being just crazy right now. So and I am just expecting in general that prices are going to increase because of all of those issues, not just because Roe versus Wade got overturned and we're going to see an influx of adoptions. And number 5 way that I believe that adoption is going to be significantly impacted by the overturning of Roe versus Wade is that pregnancy centers are now probably going to be bombarded. That's the hope anyway, that women who are pregnant and in crisis are going to find pregnancy centers to go to where they can feel supported, where they can get the education that they need so they can understand all of their options, where they can find the help they need for baby and for anything else they need for pregnancy. And my prayer always is that a woman truly understands all of her choices, so that if she chooses adoption, it's because that's what she chose. She understands the risks, she understands the pros, she understands the cons, she understands everything that's gonna go with that, and she's decided at the end of the day, I have considered everything regarding adoption, and I'm still choosing this for my baby. And so that's my hope moving forward. So those are the 5 ways that I believe adoption is going to be really impacted by the overturning of Roe versus Wade. Now, if you are one of those who feel like, hey, I want to do something and I want to help, I don't want to just sit on the sidelines and just say, yeah, Roe versus Wade got overturned and do nothing. Okay, here's how you can help. Okay, you can volunteer at pregnancy centers right now and just volunteer and just support the women who are coming. Just be a smiley face. Just be a voice of hope. And for pro-lifers and for Christians out there who you're now feeling like, okay, God is calling me to adopt, don't use that lightly. Actually do something. Go through the education requirements that you need to go through to actually adopt. A lot of times people are thinking that this should just be an easy process, and I hear so many people say, well, if there's so many children who need adoption, then why is it so hard to adopt? Well, it's not hard to adopt. It's just that you have to be educated and licensed to adopt, because there are kids that have been adopted and then they're abused and neglected or even killed in their adoptive homes. And so we want to make sure that you're not crazy. We want to make sure that you don't have mental health issues. We want to make sure that if a child comes into your home, you actually have the ability to nurture them, to love on them, and to help them to grow and to not have all of these issues that they had when they came into your home. And so the education and the licensing requirements are very important, because they're vetting you to make sure that you're an appropriate caregiver, okay? Because the last thing that we want is for kids who are already traumatized to be placed in a home. They're just gonna be traumatized even further. And this is what happens for kids, especially in foster care, and who keep bouncing from home to home. Sometimes the foster parents had nothing to do with it, and it's just the child's behavior. Okay, I've seen that a lot. But sometimes it's the foster parents who were not properly educated and they're the ones who are actually traumatizing the children. Okay, so we want to minimize that as much as possible. So when a child gets placed into a home, the home is really ready. They're ready to take on the responsibility of that child, and they're ready for what it's actually going to take to walk that child through their trauma and through all the things that that they've gone through in life that they need healing from, okay? So if that's you and you're like, okay, I want to take the responsibility in my community. I want my home to be open to children who are going to need home, that we're anticipating that in the next few years, adoption is going to boom, hopefully, right? So if you're one of those and you want that, check out my adoption program, where I teach adoptive parents the entire process of adoption and how to be really ready for the adoption process, understanding the trauma, understanding all of these things that come with adoption so that they can be truly ready. So if you want to save thousands of dollars, you want to save yourself time in trying to figure out how to do this adoption thing, check out my adoption program. It's going to be put in the description below. All right, that's it, guys. Thanks for watching, and I hope that was helpful to you. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel to get more adoption tips like this. Thanks for watching, you guys. Bye-bye.